Hello, in this video I want to talk about 5 different things that you can do to improve your performance, your next performance. And they're not difficult to do. In fact, they've got nothing to do with playing the guitar at all. It's all about usually what becomes before and after, and perhaps how we behave during the performance. So let's start at the top with a really low-hanging fruit, but very impactful one, and that is a bit of a pause, a bit of a moment. Framing your performance. When you play, it's very easy to have an eagerness or an anxiousness to start the piece. And also at the end, we can kind of throw away these moments as well. But having a little pause, a little moment of silence, perhaps even taking a breath before we start, can really frame a piece. It can put the audience, the listeners, at ease. And it also can help you. If you suffer from performance anxiety, perhaps that includes everybody, I would think. But it can give us just that little bit of extra time to settle our nerves. Breathing deeply can also have some nice physiological effects where we relax. Then we can not only have a framing of the piece we're about to play, but we can also have a nice relaxing moment for ourselves where our tempo might be a bit steadier and our performance anxiety might be diminished. Just that little bit extra. So the first one is just taking a pause before and after we play. All right, number 2 is kind of a you have it or you don't kind of skill. And it is a skill, and that is tuning. Now, maybe you're wanting to fast forward right now through the video, but I've heard so many performances where the performer has worked very hard and diligently to play and to practice their piece, but when it comes down to it, you can play the most exquisite, technically commanding passage, but if your guitar's out of tune, it sounds terrible. Now, this is pretty extreme. But I do recommend, if you've ever had some comments or some issues with tuning, practice it like anything else. Put your guitar out of tune, like I clearly have done. Get one string in tune, and just practice getting those strings back in tune quickly and efficiently. You'll start to learn over time how much of a twist of the peg is needed. And you'll also start to learn how to tune with open strings, relative tuning to note, and even how to tune a string whilst playing. You may have seen that. It's quite a fancy little trick. You can actually have little pauses. That's not the best one because you probably want to have an open string so you can actually do it without disturbing the music, but you can develop it so that you can actually tune on the fly. And that is a skill like anything else. So I would recommend practicing tuning mainly to get it accurate and fast, but you can even get to the point where you can make slight adjustments as you're playing because strings go in and out of tune with temperature, with humidity and all sorts of things. So tuning's a big one, and once you've got that skill, you've got it for life and it can impact everything. Number 3, and this is a big one for me personally, is have you organized what you're going to say before you play? Often when we play, if it's for a society or for friends or for a concert, we say something about the piece. We say perhaps something historical, maybe some context about where the piece came from, an anecdote perhaps, or even emotionally what it means to you or where you were in life when this piece came along and how long you've been playing it. All of that's interesting in different ways. But if you haven't said it before and you haven't really thought about what you're going to say, sometimes it can diminish the music. It can take away from a performance that you prepared and worked on very, very diligently. So, key phrases are at the end of the introduction saying, and I hope you enjoy it, or just kind of trailing off. And Beethoven was born in, and then, oh, here we go. Or perhaps the worst of all, which I'll mention in a little bit, is saying something slightly negative before you're playing. Going, okay, and well, I hope I don't mess up, It's got a little bit of lightness to it, but we often default to those slightly awkward introductory phrases if we haven't thought about what we're going to say. And I think it's very low-hanging fruit because it's very easy to practice a couple of phrases, think about what you're going to say ahead of time, and then it gives that much more poise and focus to your performance so that it doesn't add any anxiety to you or to your listener before you begin. So I highly recommend thinking about what you're going to say. For me, this is more of a pet peeve with aspiring professional guitarists, student guitarists at university level, where they play exquisitely, but they don't think about the other parts of performing on stage. But anyway, I'm not going to get into a rant. It's just something to think about if you're going to talk before your next performance. Okay, number 4 is being prepared. Similar to the talking is about, do you have your music ready? If you're on Zoom or online, do you have your mic set up? Is it unmuted? Do you know, all those little bits and pieces that can detract. Do you have to go off and find your tuning machine, or do you have to tune your guitar? Did you forget to tune your guitar? All these little elements impact both you and the listener. They impact you because if you forget to tune, you might get thrown off. You might be focused on playing, and then suddenly, oh, I got to tune. So just being prepared, thinking through the different steps of the performance can make a big impact. Finally, number 5 is about being positive, being kind to yourself. What I mean by this, and I think a lot of you might sympathize, is we are pretty harsh on ourselves sometimes. We're quite self-critical, probably more critical than anybody else. And if we're playing and we are negative about ourselves before we start, during the performance, or afterwards, that can reinforce a feeling of negativity for ourselves, but also it can impact the listener. If someone's really enjoyed your performance and then they give you a compliment and you say, yeah, I missed this, I messed up that, and I missed this, I feel pretty bad, they might just be like, oh, okay. You kind of take away from their enjoyment. Similarly, in the piece itself, I messed up, sorry, like apologizing, making faces while you're playing, like, that wasn't good, that was a mistake. All of that, I think, takes away from the music, and you've got so much to offer, all of that work you've put in. The perception of your experience for you versus someone else in the audience is often wildly different. So make sure to be kind to yourself and stay on the positive side and away from negativity, both before and after, when you're talking or you're acknowledging applause or compliments, and during. If you can, try not to apologize. If you have a mistake, you can just start over or keep going on, and try not to make the faces. The faces are hard to get rid of if you make faces while you play, but it's a real asset to be able to do that. So those are the 5 points we had. Number 1, taking a moment before we play, a breath, a moment of silence, and then having that poise and framing the piece as we perform. Same goes after the piece. Number 2 is tuning. Tuning is going to affect every single note you play, so may as well just practice it as a skill and also take that extra few seconds to check your tuning before you start. Number 3 is about what you say in your introduction. How you conduct yourself before and after is going to impact the whole performance. Number 4 is being prepared. Do you have all your ducks in a row? Do you have your music ready? Guitars in tune? Microphones set up, all those bits and pieces, that's going to impact the performance as well. And lastly, number 5 is be positive and be kind to yourself, because it's going to impact the ongoing experience of performing and the performance itself for you and for the audience. Now, these are all my experience and my own opinion. These are not rules to be followed, but they're 5 ideas that you can take away for yourself if you like. I know there are many of you with lots of other ideas, so please feel free to share your experience, your knowledge and wisdom in the comments below, and we'll all enjoy learning from one another, because these are 5 that are important to me, but you might have some that are important to you as well. So I look forward to reading your ideas. All right, I'll see you next time. Take care.